Hey guys, Ron here. So over the last year, I released a couple of videos where I showcased the streams I did on YouTube where we fixed some Pokemon shinies that chat or I believed were underwhelming. I made 3 different versions based on viewer suggestions and my own knowledge of the lore, and chat voted on which was their favorite for each Pokemon. You guys loved these videos, but a good amount of viewers got annoyed that my chat would constantly vote for the black or white shinies that I made. It makes sense since 9 times out of 10, if you give a Pokemon a black shiny, they're gonna look sick. So last time I was conscious of this and tried my best to give a slightly wider variety of shiny fixes. But chat is still in control of which of the 3 fixes is the best, so if any black or white shiny makes it through, don't blame me. Now that Gen 9 is out, we have a good bunch of underwhelming shiny Pokemon. Honestly, probably the worst showing of new shiny Pokemon in a while, so I took it upon myself to redesign a few. Here we go! We're basically going in Pokedex order, so our first redesign is Shiny Paldean Tauros. It's literally just inverted colors, but the 2 gray tones of the original are so similar that the shiny is basically the same. So we decided to make a red one to represent its anger, a calm white version, and then a color scheme adjacent to the Cantonian Tauros' color scheme. The third fixed one with 59% of the vote. Makes sense. It's the one I put the most work into. It's not just a simple color overlay. Next is Shiny Masquerada. I actually prefer the color scheme of the shiny, but we can do so many beautiful things with a shiny Masquerade Magician Pokemon. The first fix was autumn colors, standard but golden, then a more sinister thief-looking red version with white flower, and finally a cool winter blue version. I like them all, but the red fix won with 50% of the vote. It really does look dashing. Next is Shiny Quaquaval. While it's very noticeable, they literally decided to make the most fabulous Pokemon and give it a shiny with literally no color difference. It's muted. So let's make some colorful Carnival-inspired versions. The first is this green and pink party fix, then a nice pink and blue, followed by an attempt to make a Brazilian colored one, but it's not that appealing, and first green version looks better, so chat suggested a Scarlet and Violet version, and it surprisingly won with 48% of the vote. I mean, it would make sense for chat to pick the version they suggested. Next was Lowkicks, one of my favorite Pokemon of the region, but its shiny is one of my least favorite colors. You think it's gold, but to me it's an unappealing yellow. So first I tried making what I expected its shiny to look like, but then we decided to begin making shinies that reference Super Sentai. So a green ranger, that looks like a grasshopper in general, followed by a red ranger, and then I overhauled the first one and made it a blue ranger. And the red version won with 47% of the vote. It really is the most badass looking one. Definitely the leader of the group. Household shiny could be a contender for the worst of the generation. I made a chocolate mouse version, and then a strawberry pink moose. I keep on saying mouse, that kind of looks like a toy I've seen in the late 2000s, and a simple red-eyed albino lab mouse. Chocolate won with 41%. I mean, it's chocolate after all, very popular for centuries. Shiny Doxbun isn't terrible, but there are so many clever ideas we could execute. The first redesign was a strawberry donut dog. Then we burnt it. We burnt the dog. And finally, we undercooked a different one. The dog is bloody raw! But goddamn was Doxbun the biggest winner of the night, with 75% of the vote. It's pretty dope. Or should I say, gope. Only those who attended the stream know what I'm talking about. Maybe you should have been there. Shiny Garganical looks a bit ugly to me, so chat decided to make a pink Himalayan salt version, a blue sea salt version, and then a Minecraft block Garganical, but a bunch of folks thought the last one made no sense, and that we should replace it with a black salt and pepper version. But pink won regardless with 44% of the vote. It does look appetizing and makes sense as a shiny. Shiny Armor Rouge is terrible, so obviously we had to make a shiny version that alludes to Ceruledge, then a magenta white armored version. Honestly, it's pretty realistic. And finally, the obligatory Black Knight. It looks sick, but Ceruledge's colors won with 50% of the vote. It's too tempting of a concept. That's why we had to do the opposite for Ceruledge. But since it was impossible to turn such a dark armor into bright yellow, we inverted Armor Rouge's color scheme and made an Iron Man Ceruledge. It looked amazing. Then I couldn't resist making a green version. It's incredible. And finally, while tinkering with the colors, I discovered the sickest thing ever. A little darker. Ooh, actually. Oh, that looks sick! Oh! That may be an exaggeration, but that looks pretty good! This black armored red Ceruledge was astonishingly great, and chat agreed. It won with 47% of the vote. What a day to be alive. Kilowattrell's shiny isn't bad, it's just standard. I don't even remember why I picked it, but the first fix was electric blue, then something a little bit more realistic yet exciting, and finally a tropical green and orange one. It was my personal favorite, so I think I skewed the vote, kinda made chat vote for it. It won by 1% with 39% of the votes. It's very pretty. Skullvillain is next, with a really odd shiny. The first fix was more realistic, with orange and yellow peppers, then a prettier version of its actual shiny, and finally a dried Carolina Reaper version, with ghost peppers. But in the end, the natural looking fix won. It's simply what people expected the shiny to look like in the first place. Bombardier's boring shiny needed a redesign. The first was a pink lovey-dovey stork version, kinda flamingo-like, I guess. Then an all-black color scheme to represent its dark typing, and finally a sky blue version. The dark fix won with 40% of the vote. Cyclizar shiny is different enough, but displays unappealing colors. Lizards can be any color, so let's make a version that represents Koraidon, and then one that represents Miraidon, and then black and white for reasons I do not remember. 44% of the vote went to the Koraidon version, since that's definitely the most successful redesign. Really cool. Annihilape shiny is fine, but we can do better. An angry red version, followed by a color scheme similar to Primeape's, and then a ghostly white and ectoplasmic green. Primeape's colors won with 43% of the vote. It looks both different and familiar. I'm sure many enjoy shiny Fluttermane, but I'm just not a big fan of the color, so I made a version that is reminiscent of Miss Magius, then a feral red with aqua green, my personal favorite, and then a ghostly gray and green, which surprisingly won with 39% of the vote. People have a problem with the shiny future Paradox forms all being chrome, but it makes total sense for artificially altered Pokemon to not have weird colored mutations and simply just have shinies that haven't been properly painted. Like, this is what they look like without their coat of paint. While it's fine to not agree with that decision, it doesn't mean that it's a lazy design. That being said, shiny Iron Treads is boring, so a rusted version with green energy makes sense too. Then a gold-plated blue energy redesign was suggested, followed by a futuristic-looking version I personally loved. It won by a lot, with 65% of the vote. It looks sleek and appropriate. I agree. I'm biased. I'm a bit biased because that's like literally my favorite color, but let's continue. Iron Hands shiny is also barely noticeable. I did a rusted version again, followed by an inverted yellow and blue redesign, and then an evil-looking red and black Iron Hands. It won with 65% of the votes. It looks dangerous and extraordinary. Perfect shiny. Then I took a crack at shiny Iron Moth. A color scheme I generally prefer was first, then a summer watermelon version I thought was neat, because those diamonds kind of look like watermelon seeds, followed by a glowing all-white sun version, which ended up winning with 40% of the vote. It would reflect more light than any Pokemon like the sun, so it makes sense. Excalibur shiny is obviously underwhelming, one of the most disappointing here. The first redesign was a bit more Godzilla-esque, followed by a blood red Baxcalibur, and ending with a black body and white snow version that eventually everybody loved. It won with 57% of the vote. It is scary. I would hate seeing that at night or on the battlefield. And finally, Goldengo doesn't even have a shiny, so we decided to do it ourselves and create a silver version, a rose gold version, and finally a copper piece Goldengo. Classic silver won with 48% of the vote. It's pretty much what the shiny should have been. Not surprising. Just like it's not surprising that you'll leave a like and subscribe if you haven't, right? Do it. Check the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early. You can also get rewards by clicking the join button to become a member. Follow me on Twitter to see all sorts of sneak peeks for art and videos I make, and I'll see you guys very soon.